Okay, hello Terri Breining. I'm sitting here with Terri Breining, a very good friend of mine, and she has some interesting stories to tell us about meeting architecture. And we're here at IMEX 2010. And so Terri, tell me a little bit about your background and how you rolled into the whole meeting architecture movement. Or
I've been involved in the meeting industry for over 30 years, and so I've watched it evolve from something that was focusing really on very mechanical elements of the meeting and how to do those things better, into something that is much more strategic, that really looks at the value of meetings for the people that are there, not just the mechanics of meetings, the logistics of meetings, but really looking at what the meetings provide to the attendees as well as the sponsoring organizations. And meeting architecture is a process that provides structure to what we've all known was true in terms of meeting design and development, that you have to start with good objectives and then create content to achieve those objectives and then measure and so forth. So it's got all of the elements, but it puts it together in a package that makes an enormous amount of sense. So I'm a big fan of meeting architecture, and I think it is another tool that allows us to continue the evolution of the meeting industry.
wonderful. You've been involved in a couple of sessions, I think, where you've been using the meeting architecture process as a model for educating meeting planners and people that are involved in procurement of meetings. And
right.
Tell me a little more about that.
Well, I had the opportunity to do some training for a rather large meeting planning company. This is a very successful company. They've been in business for a long time, and they have very little structure for the things that they do. I mean, they do the logistics in a very structured way, but they, in terms of the development of meetings, they have not been able to do that in any sort of formal way. And so I did some training for their entire staff, their meeting planning staff, the coordinators, the procurement people, everybody on the meeting architecture process.
Yeah.
And it was really well received. And again, it makes so much sense. The process makes so much sense that this wasn't like teaching them an entirely different language. It was putting some order to what they already knew what to do. And so they've actually started to implement that process, and they're finding that they are having greater impact with their clients, that their meetings are making more sense, and this process has allowed them to be of greater value and greater service to their customers.
That's interesting. And how does it actually create value for their customers? What is behind, what is the result of the process, actually? Well,
the result, it adds greater value to their customers because they're no longer focusing, first of all, on where to meet and how to set the room and what to serve for food. They're actually talking about objectives, which is a question that a lot of people in a lot of organizations never ask. So the whole premise of meeting architecture forces that question first. That provides the basis for everything else. So their meetings are becoming more effective as well as more efficient, because they're not, the efficiency comes in not having to try to figure out what they're trying to do for every session. Everything goes back to the objectives, which drives the content, and then you figure out where you want to meet, and then you figure out what to serve for food and that sort of thing.
Where was this course that you organized or gave?
It was a company in the Midwest at their headquarters offices. And
what is the ideal format? How long should it be, you think, ideally, to have a good impact on the students?
This particular course, I delivered the course twice in one day, so it was about a 3.5-hour program each time, and that seemed to be right. Again, we were doing training for everybody so that they understood the process of meeting architecture.
How many people? It's a lot.
There were 50 in each.
People,
50 people in each course. But that was about the right system, so that everybody in the organization now understands what meeting architecture means. They understand to some degree what the process looks like. And I think that there's probably additional training opportunities for those that are going to take a deeper look at it. But in terms of general training for a group of people that are all going to be working together, 3.5 hours seem to be right.
All right, good. Terri Breining, thank you very much for joining us today, and looking forward to see you next year.
Thanks, Martin. Pleasure.